This is the story of the journey of the assembly we now know as Newlife Assurance Believers Church. Once upon a time, in the year 1997, a family relocated from the city to a town called Gwagwalada, and in their quest to fulfill the purpose of God for their lives and to also satisfy their spiritual hunger, this journey began.
My name is Rev Ademola Adedeji.
I am Titila Ojolayemi.
My name is Bayo Fagbemi.
I am Mrs. Oluremi Fagbemi.
My name is Pastor Mrs. Olubumi Adedeji.
My name is Stella Emmanuel.
My name is Pastor Adelodun Jimo Adeshola.
My name's Sheson Michael Olabige.
Ibukun Adedeji.
I first sensed the need to start the ministry of Newlife Assurance Believers Church sometime in late 1996, when where I work, took me to this region, the region around Gwagwalada. I had to relocate church, relocate my family, and I was really very concerned about having a very good atmosphere for my young family that was just coming up. Then I had two little children, and I needed to be in a place, in an atmosphere where they would be exposed to the word, they will be exposed to Holy Ghost filled services and experiences. I didn't find a suitable place. I tried, about two places where I felt that God was not going to have me stay there. And I became quite agitated and, worried that I wasn't going to find a good place, particularly for the sake of my children. So I decided to seek the face of God, that this area where I came, there seemed to be lacking enough gospel ministries, gospel churches, in the area as at then. So I felt that there was a need to do something. I prayed about it, and then I felt led to talk to a couple, friend of mine, Pastor and Mrs. Oyetunji, then brother Oyetunji. He just got married, but before then, myself and him as young men those days, we had been involved one way or the other in some gospel work, particularly among students in the university. So when I relocated to this region, to the Gwagwalada region, and he was living in this area too, I went to him and shared my thoughts and my burdens, and apparently him and his newly married wife were also in a similar situation. So we agreed together to pray, seek the face of God. We fixed a vigil for a particular Wednesday. That was, I think it was January 1997. We fixed a vigil for a particular Wednesday, and 2 days before the vigil, some of the students who knew me and heard that I had relocated to this region came to my house to meet me and brought their burdens also about the need for a ministry, like what we were having in mind. And I thought that maybe somebody told them that I had fixed a vigil. They said no one told them. They just felt led to come to talk to me about a need. And so I invited them that let them join us at the vigil that was going to happen a day or two later. And so they joined us, and we had that vigil in my house. And from then on, we continued to meet, to seek God's face, to seek more clarity. And eventually, we got led to start the church on 2nd of March, 2nd day of March 1997. We had our first Sunday service, and we were about 15 or thereabouts that were at that service. Myself, my wife, my 2 children, Ibukun and Sheyi. Then I had just those 2 children, then Ibukun and Sheyi. Then I had my 2 sisters that were staying with us also, Titi Layo, who is now Mrs. Jolayemi, and Uraola, who is now Mrs. Falodun. We also had the Oyetunji is newly married then, so just the 2 of them, husband and wife. We had Brother Shola Adelodun, who is now a pastor in Newlife. And then a number of the students I remember vividly, Peter Jolayemi, who is now a pastor with Newlife. Sheson Labige, who was a resident pastor in Newlife before he relocated, is presently in the United States of America. And then we had Sister Stella, Sister Yetunde, Stella, she's now Mrs. Stella Emmanuel. Then Sister Yetunde Nikolajo, I don't know her surname now. We had also a number of other people. I think I can only remember one, Sister Mofe. We were just about 15 on that first day. And we started our meeting in the sitting room of the Oyetunjis. They had a 2-bedroom flat in Gwagwalada opposite WAEC office, where they were living then. So they made their sitting room available for us. That's where we started the church. Presently, the Oyetunjis have moved to Redeem. They are now pastors in Redeem. I think they are somewhere in Lagos.
First service. Interesting. First service on that very good day is I would say it's an interesting service, because one, you have a service that there is no drum set, no saxophone, no microphone, to even talk of speakers. So the first service was just like you having a family meeting, compared to the number of the people that were in attendance. Compare to the number of the people that you have in attendance. The first service was just like I would like to say it's just like an introduction, because we are not many then, and the hours was just a very short period of time. That's how the service was. But we thank God, because we know that we are doing what God really wants us to do.
The first Sunday service I attended in Newlife Assurance Believers Church was quite an interesting one to recall. I think that very Sunday there were 3 people in service, and I just walked in to the service, and Pastor Adedeji and Mommy were glad to see me in that service, because we've had a history together in First Baptist Church, Garki, some years back, I think around 1994-95. So locating myself in Gwagwalada, and I looked for them, because I was told that they were there, so as to join in the Christian workforce there. So my first Sunday was quite an interesting one. It was a Sunday of togetherness, a Sunday of remembering old memories, and then a Sunday of reactivating those memories of worship and prayers. In fact, we never knew that time was gone when we started that service. Just about, I think, 3 or 4 of us in that very service, that first Sunday. I think those are some of the things I can recall. My first Sunday in Newlife Assurance Believers Church.
When we started the church, we started first at the residence of the Oyetunjis, their two-bedroom flat that's directly opposite WAEC office in Gwagwalada. Later, we had an issue because the landlord, the owner of the building, a Muslim, he heard that we had started having church in the house, so he resisted us, created some problems, and we had to pack out of the place and rented a shop, a corner shop at Phase 1 Waterboard in Gwagwalada. We were there for a few months. Eventually, we got a land of our own. We bought a land of our own in a place called Phase 3 Extension 4, something like that. Quite in the bush then, but the place is developed now. We got a land there built. Our first church building. We worshipped there for a number of years, and later when we saw that there was a need to expand, we began to look for land more inside the town, and we were fortunate to get a good location along the main highway in Gwagwalada, what is called the Specialist Road, directly opposite the Government Day Secondary School. We got a land there. We were quite happy. We were looking for a place where we could have good space in front, good buffer in front for car park and so on. So we got that place. It was quite a good place. And then when we built up the place. In the process of building, we had a few challenges also against building a church or having a church in that place. As a result of that, we relocated and moved to the current place. For a while, we initially moved to Kutuku, where I had my own personal land. I had not built the house on the land then, so we used the land for temporary shelter for the church for a few months, and then God gave us our own land where we presently are, called Rehoboth, along Paso Road. Specialist is still along the Specialist Road, closer to Paso. That's where we are now. That's where the headquarters of the church is. As regards the challenge that we had concerning that land, we bought the first land along the Specialist Hospital Road. We were having a problem with some Muslim, I think some Muslims around there, because it turned out that right behind us, they had a big land that they were planning to build a big mosque. Now they've built the big mosque there. They didn't come out directly against us, but they resisted us. Initially went to the police to report that we were building on their land. And we went to the police. The police, stopped us and told us to come with our papers. We went there. It was like, a civil conflict between the church and the mosque. But the DPO then, called us to a meeting that we should bring our own papers. We brought our papers. And he called the Muslims who reported to him. He called them on phone that they should come, that the pastor they complained about was already here, but they didn't show up for almost 2 hours. They refused to come, so the DPO just told us to go, and we left and continued our building. So eventually we started having problem with development control of FCDA. They started disturbing us that we could not have church there because the land was meant for residential building. Yes, we actually got approval to build. Development control gave us approval to build a bungalow that we called family house. We called it family house. So we built it and we're using it for church. So it created a lot of tension we knew that the Muslims were building their mosque behind because they had resisted us from building that building initially. So when they started building their mosque very fast, FCDA came to demolish our own that we could not have that there. Even though we applied for conversion of the land use, they told us to pay 1.5 million for processing, which we did. But the file was kept somewhere, it was not processed until the matter came to a head and they came to demolish the building. We knew that the Muslims didn't want us there, so we didn't want to create too much of religious intolerance because, while we were there, every Sunday, because the mosque was directly behind us, but we were not within share boundary. There was a stream separating us. But from the compound of the mosque, every Sunday we used to see some young boys that they call Al-Majiri. They will come to the front of the church, be saying a number of things, and then they will move to the back, cross the stream to the church, to the mosque behind, and rain of stones on top of the roof of the church while service was going on. We had that experience several Sundays. We used to go to the police, report that the Muslims or some people from the mosque behind were throwing stones on top of the church. So the police, at least they helped us. They came on Sundays. Each time the police will stand around, there won't be such thing. But if police were not there, we'll have rain of stones on the roof. So we decided to move with I think the CAN chairman then, to meet with the Muslim leaders, community leaders, and complain to them that this was what was happening. And while I realized that we were just wasting our time was when the leader we met said that he couldn't hold anybody responsible unless we have proof. And then he said we should go and mount CCTV camera on our roof facing the mosque, so that anytime they are throwing stones from the mosque, the camera will record those that are throwing stones. Then we should come and give him the CCTV camera recording. Of course, you know that will be very offensive to the Muslims, where you mount camera and face their compound. So we knew that we were not going to make a headway. So we decided to just let go. And for the sake of peace, we decided to move. The FCDA came about the same time, demolished the building. Right now, if you go there now, where they call residential area, where our building church was, you will see two mobile filling stations side by side there. All through that line, there's no residential filling stations, banks, and so on, what are there. And we wanted to convert also to church, but we were resisted. So we just had to leave for the sake of peace, and then moved to, they demolished our building with already roofed, FCD demolished. We left to Kutunku, just build some temporary, structure there for a while that we used for a few months. Within that period, God gave us the present land where we are, and it turned out to be a blessing. I actually believe that God's hand was in that crisis. God wanted us to move out of the place, because where we are now is the building alone is about 2.5 times the size of the building that was demolished. If we were still there, we're not likely going to have what we already have today. So I would say, yeah, God has really been, faithful to us. He has been kind to us, and I believe He allowed all that to happen to us so that we will move out of that place. That place wouldn't have been big enough for the size of what we are seeing today.
Well, The experience of being part of church from the beginning, founding a church, has been great because as a child of God, you're always looking for means of serving. And so it's provided an opportunity to serve God more. So a lot of challenges, starting something from the scratch. But following God, God made it easy. No struggle. We followed Him, walked with Him in prayers, seeking His face. Here we are today.
I really thank God that during the periods of relocation from one place to the other, especially during the crisis where our building was demolished, um, we God really helped us during that period. We had developed ourselves, the church, in a way that we understood that the church is the people, not the brick and mortar, not the physical structure. Everybody understood that very well, even before that crisis came. And so it was not very difficult for us to move on. When FCDA came and demolished the brick and mortar, the church was intact. In fact, I remember that we still had a service under that the demolished structure. I remember we had a service where I reminded the people and told them that brick and mortar can be pulled down by people, but the church is actually the people. And so we could move church to any location. Wherever we moved church to, the brick and mortar will follow us there. So we moved, when we moved, during that crisis, when the building was demolished, we moved to Kutunku, quite far distance, far away, very far away from where we were. It was a major shift of location, quite far. As the Lord will have it, all of us moved together, including the students that were among us. No one changed church. No one stopped coming. Everybody moved to that location in Kutuku, and we continue to worship there for the several months that we were there. No one changed church. All of us were united. We were all together. We were complete there. And when eventually God gave us the place we are now that we call Rehoboth, that's again another far distance back to, closer to where, we had left before. But, it was still another migration, long distance migration to this permanent place. All of us moved. No one was missing. No one changed church. We all moved together and everybody joined hands to build the brick and mortar that is there, because the church was already strong, the church was already built, and it wasn't too difficult to build the brick and mortar, because we all saw that we were the church, and whatever we chose to do, we set our hearts on it and believe God, we knew we'll be able to do it. And that's how we're able to accomplish that. And it's a lesson and a message to Christians. Don't look at the brick and mortar as the church. Don't be carried away by the beautiful structures, fantastic palatial structures, cathedrals and so on. They are all very nice. They are very, very good, but do not let your focus be on that. It's the people that worship. It's you and I, the individuals, the believers that come together that are actually the church, and they are more important than the building. So work to build the people. Let the people be spiritually healthy And that is the health of the church. Church will be healthy, and brick and mortar and other things will, be able to come also with it. Because if the people are not built, they will not be able to build the brick and mortar.
We had quite a lot of trials, I must be sincere with us. From the first church, the first place we started that I did mention was a bungalow. There was a time that we were almost being stopped from worshiping there. I did mention to you that there are people that were staying there. In fact, there was a morning, I think we came to church, there was a pot somewhere around the sitting room we were staying. We had some opposition to us using that place as a church. And as a result of that opposition, we had to move to opposite the waterboard, the corner shop where we started to use. Gradually, we were coping with the challenges. We had challenges of transportation for members. We had challenges of raising funds at a time to be able to meet up certain needs, up to when we were able to move to phase 3. At phase 3, we also had a very major challenge with the people we called the Mother Church that time. That was the First Baptist Church, Garki, Abuja, which Daddy and myself had our stock, our roots from there. We had a very major challenge of them being a mother church, a preaching station, we are not a preaching station. There was a time that we were all summoned to go to First Baptist Church, Garki, Abuja. We went there, a very hot meeting. And then there was a time that we had buses came from First Baptist Church one Sunday morning to come and take over the service. I'm sure maybe some of you have not heard about this before. It's interesting that you're hearing it from somebody like me. So that very Sunday service, they just came full load of people inside bus, and they came to take over the service. Unfortunately, that day, Daddy had an attack. He had to be moved out of that service, and medical attention had to be quickly sought for him. So I was the one remaining to manage the people, to manage the audience. So we had a very serious situation with the Mother Church that now made us to begin to rethink as to our association with the First Baptist Church. This incident I'm painting to you was a very unpleasant incident. As simple as I tried to present it, it was very unpleasant for as many that were in church that day. Imagine people coming to take over your pulpit by force. But we managed the situation, we managed our relationship with them. Then that now began to make us redefine our status and also our position as a church. We must not forget the trajectory, the history of where Newlife Assurance Believers Church started from. It started as Newlife Assurance Baptist Church. In fact, it started as Newlife Baptist Church. So as a result of that episode that happened that day with the mother church, the First Baptist Church, Garki, we had to start to begin to redefine our relationship with them. We lost the intention of associating ourselves with the independent Baptist churches that had their headquarters in Ilorin in that time. I was part of those people that started finding out about them. So we had those people that wanted to be independent Baptist churches affiliating with them. We wrote to them. So we had a little affiliate with the independent Baptist churches then. And that was why we now changed our name, went to CAC, and incorporated New Life Assurance Baptist Church. The intention of that was so that we move away under the control of First Baptist Church and by implication under the Nigerian Baptist Convention. So that gave us some little independence. And then we now moved away and started as New Life Assurance Baptist Church. But I guess by inspiration, by revelation, and also wisdom, now made New Life Assurance Baptist Church to be called New Life Assurance Believers Church today. So you must understand that trajectory, you must understand that history. Very few of you might know of this origin, but those are the phases that we passed through. In each of these phases, there were spiritual attacks, and we had to give in ourselves much into prayers and into fasting. But we thank God because the foundation of the church was rooted purely in Christ Jesus. And that helped us to be able to weather the storm when they came. Yes, the winds, did they blow? They blew boisterously. The storms came. The rains fell. But God was able to allow us to sustain all that. To the glory of God, we thank God as to where the church was today. In all these scenarios, Pastor Adedeji and myself were always at the front burner because we are the two that were visible, we are the two that were known, and we are the two that were mostly the targets.
The challenge that the Ministry of New Life Assurance Believers Church face are enormous. Or I would like to just make it brief, part by part. The first challenge that we faced was when the church first started. We are using a building along this Doma filling station. That's where we were. The church started, and it's in a room. And it happens that my cousin that I was staying with then, is the one that was occupying that house. But when it was about relocating, after his marriage, the church took over the house. But suddenly, we just saw somebody that came in and said the house belongs to one of his brother. He says an army officer, this and that, kasa, that his brother got to know that the house is being used for church. And as a result of that, the brothers asked him to come and take over the house. We thought it's just a light something. We were together. The man was staying inside the house, and the church we are fellowshipping there with the intention of getting another place. But the thing moved faster than we expected. What happened? The man, when he discovered that we are not living to their own expectation, we are not living as they expected, the man started praying inside the same place that we are using for fellowship, to the point that the man just make a corner, putting all sort of I don't know how to put it, either juju or all these things. He just put it there, to the point that it almost brings a setback for the ministry, because that time when people around came, they thought, these people, oh my goodness, people flee away. But we thank God, we overcome that. We overcame it. The other part of it was when the first name of the church is New Life Assurance Baptist Church. The church intention then was that we thought the Baptist church in town could be our mother church. But unfortunately, all what we expect from them was not forthcoming. They are not showing that we are there, they gave birth to us, Things are not moving well as we expected. But suddenly, we just discovered that they want to hijack, or they want to take over the ministry in a way that is not right to us. The challenge was so much to the point that we were summoned. I could remember then that I'm part of leadership of the ministry. We were summoned to the church in town begin to ask us questions. What do you know? How do you this? But at the end of the day, God gave us victory. God gave us, and I believe that is what has led to the, changing of the name, because we felt that if people that we thought could be our mother cannot be our mother, there's no point. So, and we believe that God is giving our leader an instruction and direction. The name has to be changed to New Life Assurance Believers Church, and we have remained, and we thank God that the church is moving on. Another one that I believe majority of people in the land of Gwagwalada is aware of is when the FCD came to pull down the church. When God is doing something, it will be painful. God may begin to carry you through a painful road, or the road that is not palatable. But when you trust God, when you hold on to God, you will laugh at the end of it. And I want to believe that there is nothing that God did not aware, or that God did not know about the ministry of New Life, and about the challenges that we are facing there. That challenge of FCD was very severe one. It faced a terrible challenge that, if not that we know that the ministry of New Life, God has given that vision, and God is with us, my brother, it could have been the end. Imagine that the whole church is pulled down to the ground. A whole building was pulled down. But the joy of it all is that where we are then, compared to where we are today, what we are doing today, we won't be able to do anything. So we give God the glory that God give us victory at the end of the day. God give us victory. We don't know that where God is taking us to is more bigger than where we are then. But we thank God that people of God stood firm. They believe God. They trust God. And at the end, God give us victory.
Other issues in the challenges that we had and we faced in the course of starting the church. At the beginning, as we were trying to start the church, I knew where I came from. I came from First Baptist Church, Garki, Abuja. I was the church secretary then when my job relocated me away from there. And when God led us to start New Life, because of my background, I wanted us to associate with where I was coming from. I wanted the First Baptist Church to mother us. So I approached them and told the church that we have started a ministry over in Gwagwalada. We want to be a daughter or a child to them, so that we can be under their supervision, we can be under their control. Unfortunately, over time, we had a lot of issues, no positive responses from them. The responses we were getting were more like giving us an impression that we were just, we were trying to just force ourselves on them. I recall I had told them also that I had a challenge with the new church we have, because about 70% of the members, as at then, about 70% of the members were not Baptist. They were not Baptist background, but it was looking like this pastor is just trying to force a system that they were not familiar with on them, especially when there wasn't really a good response from the people that I was saying that we had to be connected to. The responses were really not encouraging, very discouraging. So we had to now begin to look at reviewing our relationship and pull back. So when we pulled back of that relationship, we took steps and pulled back. Then it elicited a lot of reactions from First Baptist Church. They now really stood up and were trying to assert some level of influence and control, but unfortunately it was actually too late. it was difficult for us to really begin to revert. So that led to a lot of crises, but we actually stood our ground because we believed that this was what God was leading us to do. If we continued with what we were experiencing, being affiliated or associated with them, it was more like something that may stifle what we were believing God to build. It was going to stifle it, and we were trying to maybe force ourselves on them. So we just said no, enough. We will not be interested in it anyway, since they were not part of the starting of the work. So we had to pull out. It elicited a lot of negative reactions, but God helped us, and we we got through all of that. I also remember uh, the first service we had when we started. The students that I said, were, I had known, and we started together. They were with us for just that first service, and surprisingly, subsequent services, they just withdrew. We didn't see them, and they would not give any reason why they would not continue, worshiping with us. It was only the first service they attended, and it was quite difficult for us because it turned out eventually that it was now just my family and Brother Shola Adelodu, who is now a pastor. The Oyetunjis also at that time, immediately we started, because they had also been associating with a new Redeemed church that had started a few maybe months before us. Then that Redeemed church really pulled them, and they couldn't remain. The pressure was much, so they left us. They kept going to Redeem this Sunday, come to all this Sunday, but we discussed with them that they need to just stay in one place. And eventually we prayed with them and agreed with them that, okay, let them continue with Redeem. And they are doing very well in Redeem today. I thank God for their lives. After they left, we continue to use their sitting room for our meetings, although, well, it was just myself, my family, just my family, and Brother Shola Adelodu only. Sometimes we will come for the weekly meetings, the house will be locked, the family would not remember to leave the key for us to go when they were not around. We will have to go to the room that Brother Shola Adelodu was renting then, and just have a brief prayer meeting in his room, and then left. So over time, when the Oyetunjis relocated, moved to another house, we took over that house. We took over the rent of that house. We met with the caretaker of the house, and we continued paying the rent for that house. So in the course of our meeting there arose this contention that the owner of the house did not authorize the caretaker to let the house for church use. So the owner ordered his brother. That's what we heard. The brother just came one Sunday with truckload of his things without any notice. We didn't know. We just heard a truck parking outside, and people coming down bringing stuff into the building. It was such an embarrassing Sunday for us. But we met and talked with the young man. The young man too was, level-headed, but he just said he was acting on instructions from his brother because, they were Muslims. So we said, okay, we paid our rent. Let us finish our rent. We'll move out. So it's a 2-bedroom flat. So he was using the room. We were using the sitting room. But, that cohabiting was not going to be conducive because sometimes we will come and we'll see his prayer mat in the sitting room where he used to pray. And then one of the times we came to a meeting and we saw incense. He was burning incense in that room. And, in the sitting room where we held our meeting, he was burning incense. Initially, we didn't care, but later, wisdom, conventional wisdom told us, look, if people come in first new people come in and they see incense and we call ourselves church, they would think that we are a strange cult group. So because of that, immediately the day we saw the incense, we just quickly moved out. Very quickly looked for a corner shop, a vacant corner shop to rent very quickly within that week, and we continued our service there. So those were some of the major challenges that were really very defining for us. And I thank God that God helped us to really weather all of those storms. And here we are today. Challenges continue to come. We know that this life and the work of the ministry will be full of challenges, but we also know that God will always see us through and overcome. We have seen times of weeping, times of rejoicing. We've seen times of burying the dead, painful losses, but we continue to move on. God continues to help and strengthen us.
Is this God not great? This is a summary of the vision that started with a vigil in flat 24 of Seshko quarters into this great assembly, touching the lives of people, transforming the lives of the destitute, and expanding the kingdom of God. This is New Life Assurance Believers Church. Have a brand new life.